Red is a primary color, so you say red, and then the secondary color, red, orange. Uh-oh, look what happened. Broke my pencil lead. It's all right. Welcome back to Art 101. This is Mr. Franklin, and today we are going to talk about typography. Typography is the art and technique of arranging text. Let's take a look now at how we can create artistic text. Sometimes artists use text in their artwork. Numbers, letters, words. Sometimes it's the main focus of the art, like in this piece by Charles Demuth. It's called I Saw the Figure 5 in Gold. And you can see how the number 5 is the focus of this painting. Sometimes the main focus is to sell a product, like in this advertisement. The Burger Shack, right? They want you to come and buy a hamburger from them. Notice the text. Notice how it looks, the color, the shape. Notice how there's different sizes of text. Which words do you think the artist wants you to really see and which they think is the most important? Do you think it's these words? Or do you think it's these two words? Probably these, right? Because it's bigger and it has some interesting size and dimension to them, as well as the color, right? So they really want you to know the name of their restaurant. Sometimes artists use text to create an image. Sometimes they just use the letters. In this case, cat, right? This is an image of a cat, but it's made up with the letters that spell cat over and over again. So you can see C-A-T in different sizes and thicknesses all over, and they all make up the image, the profile of this cat. Pretty interesting, huh? So what I'd like to do right now is design some text of our own. And today we can find out how we can use text and incorporate it into our artwork. Let's get started. And why don't we start off with our first initial of our name. So my first initial is M. You might have a first initial that's different. So if your name is Cindy, then your first initial would be C. And so the first letter in your first name. All right, so we're going to go ahead and print. We're going to do a capital and a capital here, a letter. And as you can see, it's pretty simple. There's not a lot of dimension to it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to outline our letter, trying to keep the space in between consistent, about the same amount. Very simple, right? Very simple. Now if I were to outline this, let's give us a little outline just so you can see it better. You wouldn't have to do this, but I want you to be able to, if you wanted to, you could use a marker or a black colored pencil or a black crayon. So there is our letter M. Now I can go ahead and erase then the inside. And I probably wouldn't draw this line as dark as I did. I drew it dark just so you could see it, but if I were making this, I would do it very, very light, and that's what you should do. So you can't, because sometimes when you draw dark, it's hard to erase the line inside. So there is our letter. That's a simple block letter that you can create. Now you can do that with any type of letter of the alphabet or number. Let's try the number 5. We saw number 5 earlier. Let's do a number 5 just for the. We'll see if we can do that. Now let's try it again. We're going to outline on both sides. We come here, and at the end we're going to make a squared off. We're going to come over here, keeping the same distance as much as possible. There. Now I can go ahead and outline this. Look how much more interesting that is already. Erase in here. Now, if we want to, we could add designs inside of this or color. And if I were making a title to a book report, I could write the title across. So here, that's just one way. Let's try some others. Let's stick with the letter M so we can see some different types of N. I'm going to go ahead and do it the same thing. But now let's see if we can make something a little bit different. What if we wanted to make this one look like it's made out of stone or chiseled out of stone? Let's do the same way, same thing. Okay, so now we have this, and now we're going to use these lines inside. And at the corner, we're going to put a line to this corner and a line to this corner. You see that? And there's our chiseled letter M. I'll go ahead and outline this so you can see it a little better. There we go. That could almost be like a diamond too, but if I wanted to add some shading, I could put a little shadow. On some of these parts. And you could come up with a chiseled looking M. Let's try another one. Now remember, yours doesn't have to be the letter M. If you feel more comfortable using the letter M, that's fine. Let's go ahead and do some rounded outlines. Let's see what we can make with this. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to draw my initial M a little lighter next time because they're getting a little bit more difficult to erase. But you can see here, now that's just kind of a bubble letter, right? That's just kind of a bubble. Now if I wanted to vary the thickness of line, I could add a little bit of thickness. Okay, let's try another one. What if we made this one like it's made out of grass? That'd be kind of interesting. So, erase the center line. So with grass, we have lines that are Now if I color this in green, you're going to get the grass effect. If I color it in brown, you might get almost like a furry animal effect. Let's see if I can find some green to make this look a little more grass. You remember when we did our crayon and our color pencil technique video, we a lot of times added yellow first. To brighten things up. And then we have a couple different colors of green. So now we're making the letter M into an artistic element, an artistic drawing. And we could create a whole word with this grassy effect. So use your imagination. How might you use something like this? You know? And we could add a little shadow down here on the ground. It's called a cast shadow. And so almost like it's planted in the ground and growing and growing the letter M. So now let's see what else we could do. Let's go ahead and do our little wireframe. Sometimes they call that a wireframe, just the thin letter. Let's see. Oh, what if we pretended that this was made out of, well, let's go ahead and bring the thickness up, and then we can change it. Now the nice thing is when you start off with this, then you can change it. You can curve the sharp edges and make them more rounded, right? It just gives you a place to start. And if you draw it nice and light, then you can erase it very easily. Let's go ahead and erase this center. And then how about we make this M look like it's made out of maybe like little gumballs or bubbles or something like that. So circles, we can put a bunch of circles in here. And even overlapping circles, right? So you can't see the whole circle on some of these. You know they're there though, but they're overlapping each other, right? Okay, so now we can go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and do the outline of this first. Get some of these. Now you may start off thinking, oh, I want gumballs, and maybe it turns into bubbles or rocks or pebbles. You know, sometimes art kind of evolves and kind of changes and changes what when you first start off to make something, it turns into something else. We've talked about that before. This definitely has some texture to it. Looks like it would probably be pretty bumpy if you actually could feel this letter. But you definitely know it's the letter M, right? Let's see if we can erase now some of this, get rid of some of that pencil. Now, if I wanted to choose my colors, I could choose some, some blues. And maybe we could choose some red. Not coloring in the whole circle. I'm kind of leaving a little bit of white in the center for a little bit of a reflection. And maybe some purple, why not? Where's the purple? We'll do some purple in here. Since these could be little gumballs or little candies or something like this. Okay, now I can go back and add, just like we have in the past, I can add my second darker blue on some of these around the outside edge to create a little more shadow, to make it look a little more three-dimensional looking. Some of the red-orange. When you have an intermediate color like red-orange, you always start off by saying the primary color first. So red is a primary color, so you say red, and then the secondary color, red-orange. Uh-oh, look what happened. Broke my pencil lead. It's all right. It's time to sharpen. Sometimes these colored pencils are difficult to sharpen because the lead falls out once you sharpen them, but if you're careful, that worked. Worked on the first time. All right. So, and if I want to take some black for some of the shadowed areas, maybe in between, to give it a little depth. Oh, there's a yellow one, maybe a couple of yellows. Add a little yellow to the red too. It'll brighten it up a little bit. So then I can take my black just lightly, not too much. If I want to add a little bit, since there's so many colors, I'm just going to use the black this time to add a little shadow just around the outside, and that's going to give it a little bit of depth, causing it to look a little more three-dimensional looking. All right, so there we go. So this is a great example of what's called an implied texture, right? Both of these are. So it looks like if you could feel it, it would have a texture to it. Now that we've practiced some letters, I thought I would have you all design a monogram. Now, what a monogram is basically your initials. So your first name, the first letter of your first name, and the first letter of your last name. Now, a monogram is usually 2 letters. It could be more. You can incorporate your middle name initial as well. Or some people even have more than that. So it's at least 2. And today we're just going to do our first name initial and our last name initial. And I thought today I would go ahead and draw the initials of my wife, Jennifer. Her name's Jennifer Franklin. So I'm going to go ahead and design a monogram for her. And so basically we can do it a couple different ways, but I'm going to go ahead and draw the J, a capital letter J. And then I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to put the F for Franklin down low like that. So we have the J a little bit higher and the F down low. Now, unless your name starts with the J and your last name starts with the F, you probably have some different letters that you're going to choose. So if you'd like to copy this and just for practice, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. But I would encourage you to challenge yourself and create your own monogram. Before we continue on with our monogram, I wanted to show you an example of an artist who lived over 500 years ago. His name is Albrecht Dürer. And Albrecht had a monogram that he signed his artwork with. And you can see it looks something like this. So the first letter of his first name and the first letter of his last name. Before Anthony Davis of the world champion Lakers was called AD, Albrecht Dürer was called AD. And he, 500 years ago, you can see right here, I don't know if you can see that, but this is an etching of a rhinoceros. And you can see right under there is his monogram. That's the way he signed his artwork. And it's kind of neat because you have the D inside the A. Kind of an interesting artistic way of doing it. So we have lots of ways we can think about how we want to create our monogram. Have it, JF. We have our gumballs, which are very sweet, and because my wife Jennifer is very sweet, beautiful wife Jennifer Franklin, the mother of my 6 children. I never told you that. I have 6 children, 5 boys, 1 girl, and yeah, we have a busy family. Here's some other monogram ideas. Here's one I did, KF. That's my daughter Kendall, and you can see how that's just straight across, right? And you can see here, look how I did a little bit of a shape behind the letters. That's another idea you can do. You can create a shape and kind of put it where the letters are sticking out of the shape. So the nice thing about learning how to create text in your artwork is that this not only helps your art pieces, it also can help you in other subject matter. You know, your teacher at some time in the future might ask you to create a book report or to create a science project and have a cover page or some kind of illustration of what you're studying. So if you were creating something on trees and the title was Trees for Life, would you want to have the cover of your report looking like this? Or would you want to have it something that looks like this, that might draw more attention and highlight your report a little bit better? if you have access to a printer, this is something you can do that's interesting. Maybe you don't feel comfortable. Maybe you're at a point where you have a hard time creating the letters, and that will come with practice. But if you have access to a printer, you could, and a word processor, you can type something out like this word dog, and you can make it larger and pick your font, which is the type of lettering that you want. And once you have it, you print it out, and then I just cut this out into this rectangle here. And on the back, you can take a pencil and you can darken in the back of this page, of this rectangle. And so the word dog on the back is totally covered, right? And once you have a lot of this pencil lead, you take a piece of paper and you put it down, and then if you, where you want it, and then you can trace the letter just like this, all the way around, even on the inside. And back when I was a little boy, they had something called carbon paper. And this was paper that had this black stuff on the back of the page, and when you pressed on it, it would make an image on the paper before. Now they don't do that anymore, but you can create your own carbon paper just like that. You see what that is? There's my dog. And basically what happened is when I pressed down on it, the pencil graphite, the pencil marks made a mark on my paper. So you get an exact little image there, and then you can design something of your own. You could create a dog, and you could have the word dog inside your picture of a dog. What do you think of that? And then I left this dog character white, and then I colored in some spots with brown and white for the letter. So that's another idea you can do if you want to do something like that. It doesn't have to be dog. It could be ice cream, or it could be a flower, and you could spell out the word and make the object out of that word. So a lot of interesting things you can do with text, and I hope you're creative. I hope you can come up with some interesting ones. Experiment. Try to think of something new and something that interests you, and share it with me. I'd love to see them. Thanks for everyone who's been sending me emails and been sharing your artwork with me. I'm really excited to see all the things you're coming up with, and so keep sending them. Good job, you guys. Work hard. Don't forget to draw every day, and I will see you next time.